You were
I
away.
Yes, I did go away.
Great. Well, I'm glad you could meet with us today. We wanted to continue our budget adjustment testimony, and we do have a budget adjustment request from the Veterans Home. And so we do have the document here with the overview. If you would like to just take it from here, review what you're asking in the budget adjustment and why those costs have been experienced. That would be a good place to start. And I know you have other staff on the screen with you today.
Yes, I have Stephen McClafferty, my finance director, joining us today.
You and Stephen.
Yes, just the two of us today.
So I'll let you take it from here then.
Okay. Thank you very much for giving us the opportunity to explain what's going on down here at the Veterans Home. So as you can see, we're looking for roughly $5.3 million in a budget adjustment. And I'll start with the agency staff, which is the big driver of this request. So as you're probably very much aware, the healthcare industry, like most industries, is struggling to find workers. We made the decision a while ago and took 30 beds offline because about half of our staff is agency staff, nurses and LNAs. We have the ability to fill those beds, but it's very cost prohibitive, as you can see, to use agency staff to fill those positions. We are also in the process of getting ready to renovate a wing. So we are closing that wing early and working to reduce our agency staff cost. But it is almost double the cost to have an agency staff member here versus having our own staff. And it's a national issue. I recently heard that 68,000 people who wanted to go to nursing school were turned away nationwide due to lack of instructors. And the bottom line is we cannot compete with what the agency staff is paying, vice what the state is paying. So that's where the $5.7 million comes in. Is there any specific questions on agency staff?
No, I think it's pretty, we've seen it in other, with the state psychiatric hospital as well. But that does raise, could you just refresh my memory, Melissa, that you actually have created a LNA training program? I mean, you are doing some workforce development
Yes.
yourself.
Yep. So we're getting ready to recruit for that. Last time around, we ended up terminating the class early because the candidates just were not viable candidates. So we're getting ready to recruit again, starting another class in early spring. Other things that we're looking at, for the end of this fiscal year and looking into next fiscal year, is we now have a full complement of licensed clinical social workers. And in the past, we've been down a position and one of our social workers wasn't licensed. What this is going to allow us to do is to slowly reduce our psychological contract services, because those social workers with the license can provide the same service that we're paying contracted psychologists for. So that's another area we're looking to reduce costs. And right now that's running about $5,000 a month. So we're continuing to look at areas where we can reduce staff. We've had the Vermont State College's nursing program in for their clinicals, encouraging them to apply for jobs. We're working closely with the Department of Labor, as well as the adult education program, basically outside our back door. So we're looking at every opportunity to try to recruit staff, but it is just difficult. I've never seen it so difficult in all the years I've been in this industry. So another big cost on here was our nurse call system, which we had to have replaced. It was beyond its functional use, could not receive parts that we needed, and we did receive a regulatory deficiency on that. We installed it in our current operating wings. We did not put it on a wing knowing that we were going to be tearing it down. Couldn't justify the expense. But we received a regulatory deficiency, so we had to expend that $183,000. The nice thing about this system is it's plug and play. It's not so difficult to get parts, and it should be useful for many years for us. We had some unanticipated expenses, around $275,000. Asa, my COO, who's not with us today, had Niagara Falls in her office. The bathroom above her sprung a leak, so we had to tear out ceilings and fix that. I don't know if you guys are aware, we have what's called the Commandant's House. Prior to my arrival, the administrator used to live on a house that's literally right across from the main entrance. And that had been being used by an outside organization. They left and we had the building inspected. So we had to pay for that. And we are now trying to determine if we're going to maintain that building or tear it down. And I'm forgetting what else was in there.
Excuse me.
Dunner Sears.
Yes, Melissa, thank you. They left the John Miner's organization.
Yes, they did.
And did they go somewhere else or did they?
So right now they are seeing part of the Bennington VFW for their activities. And my understanding is they may be going out to the old Camelot Village where Michelle LeBlanc has her training for the service dogs. Yeah, unfortunately, they ran out of money and couldn't afford to maintain that building.
There is no use for that building, I assume. For that.
Yeah, no, unfortunately, not right now. The home inspection determined that there's probably about $100,000 worth that needs to get that building back up to being usable. So right now we're doing some investigation as to whether or not we should tear the building down. The big expense that would come with that is the potential that there may be asbestos in the shingles. So we're looking at all those options as well. So
It's an historic building.
I mean, this is in Bennington.
It's at the Veterans Hall.
She said it was a commandant's
It was
residence.
the old commandant's residence.
I'm trying to picture it. I remember visiting.
Well, it's across from the entrance. So white, it was white.
it's still white, yeah.
It's still white. And it's older building. I don't think there's been much change there. I think the last commandant to live there was
Earl Hollings.
the 70s.
I think I've been here I've been here 13 years, so it's probably been about 20 years since somebody's been in there.
Yeah, at least. I know.
So it hasn't had any maintenance in all those years?
It's
Well,
had some general upkeep.
They were using it for a veterans group. Mainly Vietnam veterans.
Right, but if we were to offer it to other organizations, obviously it would need some work. And
You make it a homeless shelter.
For veterans.
Yeah, I don't know.
You good?
Yeah, I mean, we're talking about, right, and maybe it's 100,000 to upgrade it, but is it 100,000 to tear it down? I don't know.
right, and that's part of the cost benefit we would have to do.
Oh, it's got a kitchen and.
Yeah,
bathroom.
all right, well, you piqued our curiosity on that one.
Yeah, so there'll be more coming on this. We're gonna do
I don't know if you heard the suggestion.
Oh, well, we were thinking that might be a great place where we could have alternatives for veterans who are homeless.
It would be, but unfortunately, there's some electrical work and bathroom work, so there would be, that's where that home inspection comes in. If we were going to use
sure.
it.
No, we understand, but
Yeah.
with housing and such a shortage, the thought of, what that might look like is well, something that needs to be explored, so.
I will bring that to the board as we're talking about our strategic plan.
Yeah, you can put it on my list.
Okay. Are you a veteran?
No.
Oh. I didn't know if he was downsizing. All right, we'll keep going.
And,
Yeah.
and I will bring that suggestion back
We're
to the
supposed to
board.
be downsizing, giving up our bigger
No,
houses.
one more winter and I might.
So we'll keep going on your
Okay.
ups and downs here. We're down on your operating, I guess.
Yeah, operating expenses. So I know there were some questions about the resident equipment around the rental of hospital beds. So we're not talking about your standard everyday hospital bed. These are what's called a Clinitron bed. To buy this bed outright is $280,000. This bed is specifically used for wound healing. And we've had a veteran that was admitted to us with some pretty significant pressure ulcers and wounds. We rented this bed and those wounds have since healed and we've returned the bed. We also rent equipment that's called a wound vac that also helps with wound healing. Occasionally we have someone with an IV, so we have to rent equipment around that. So this isn't your standard everyday nursing home medical equipment. So I don't know if there's any questions around that, but we did hear some feedback from others as to why we were renting hospital beds. So.
Oh, well, that probably isn't a good description then.
The one
You
is,
know, very specialized. I guess you should very specialized medical equipment, something like that might,
Okay.
avoid that concern, but understanding. That's there, you don't have enough frequency to warrant really purchase, as opposed to rental.
Medical equipment that we use on a regular basis, we obviously purchase outright. We had to do some, I'm sorry.
Drugs for 99,000.
Yeah, let's talk about the cost of drugs these days. Whoa. Yeah, so the price of medications has increased. Our biggest drug expense is related to our service-connected veterans, those that are 70% or more service-connected disabled. Our agreement with the VA is that we pay for their medications out of their daily rate. One of the things that I am working closely with the National Association of State Veterans Homes on is high-cost medications. As you know, there are some brand new medications out on the market that are very expensive. We had a veteran who was on a chemotherapy drug that was $6,000 a month that we had to pay for. So we're now trying to work with the VA on some type of carve out that after a certain dollar amount, we would be subsidized for those expenses. Obviously, that's going to require a change in federal law, but it is resulting in us saying no to some veterans being admitted because of the cost of their medication. So
You do that at the veterans home, or do you do the chemo at the Southern Vermont Kids?
So this was an oral chemotherapy drug, so we could do it here. If they're receiving your traditional like IV chemo, they go out to the cancer center for that. But this was an oral medication. Yes.
is there any action happening with your peers in other states with trying to get cheaper drugs from like Canada after the Supreme Court decision recently?
I have not heard. So we've had this conversation in this committee over the years that I've been doing this. So the VA could, if the local VMA medical center, which is our White River Junction, we could receive discounted medications from them. The biggest barrier to that is how we need to have medications packaged here at the vet's home. So all of us at home probably have bottles of medication that we take, but in a nursing facility, they're put in blister packs. And White River Junction does not have that equipment, nor do they want to purchase that equipment to be able to provide us the medication because it's so expensive. But we'll continue to watch what is going on with the pharmacy costs. Our pharmacy contract is currently going to be going out to bid in March. So cost savings is going to be a major focus on that.
Senator Lyons has a question.
So couple things. Do you have a PBM that functions for you in terms of purchasing and providing supplemental rebates? And then the out of country purchasing, I guess Florida has recently been allowed for that, even though Vermont passed a law first. But so we can't go out of state, but you can. So I have two questions here. One, do you have a PBM? And then two, do you have authority as a more of a federally recognized organization to go out of country to purchase drugs? Because I didn't hear clearly.
So first off, we are not a federally recognized organization. We have federal oversight. We're a state agency. So I know the veterans term gets a little confusing there.
Thank you.
Yes. So we receive funding from the VA because we're a veterans home, but we're a state agency. So we use the same state contracting system that AOT and BGS and all the others use. We have some rebates on some of our medical equipment, not specifically medications, but that's something we can definitely look into and see if that's available to us.
Well, the other thing is that it's a long way to go, but we'll be taking up legislation to have a prescription drug regulatory board
Great.
in state. If that happens, the drugs that you're talking about will be really important to sort of regulate pricing.
No, that'd be great. And we can, whatever information you need from us, we'll be more than happy to give you that.
We can do it.
Yes. And then we had computer and software upgrades that we needed to make. Some aging equipment, so that was the $126,000. Part of that is because this is going to sound crazy. CMS, the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services, require us to do a PBJ report, and it's not a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. It is payroll-based journal. So we have to run a different payroll system than the rest of the state. Every one of us, myself included, every time we come in the building, we have to swipe in and then swipe out, and then that information has to be exported in a special file to CMS. Because we don't use a time clock on the state side, we couldn't use the state system, so that system needed upgrades as well. So that's what the costs are associated with that.
CMS requires that.
Yes. Yep.
So I guess you've gone through the list of ups and, well, mostly ups, I don't.
Yeah, so the only down is we did receive the $2.8 million from the Medicaid settlement dollars from our FY22 cost report. So that's usually a couple years behind. We get an interim rate and then they true us up to our actual costs. So that's where the 2.8 came from.
Other questions? Pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
You all set, Senator Stevens?
I'm fine, they're doing a great job.
Okay.
Thank you, we appreciate that.
Thank you very much. And I think if there are no further questions, we'll let you get back. Are we charging this time to CMS too?
Good luck with that if you can. Let me know.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye.
Committee, we are finished our testimony.